You ever play a single-player game that completely blew you away? Great story, amazing atmosphere, and polished gameplay, but somehow no one ever talks about it? Yeah, those hidden gems deserve their spotlight. So today, we're diving into some seriously underrated single-player games that flew under the radar but deliver unforgettable experiences. If you think you've played it all, think again. These might just surprise you. Let's get started. A Plague Tale: Requiem is a great example of a story-driven game that got overlooked because it launched alongside giants like God of War Ragnarok and Elden Ring. Even without the spotlight, it's one of the most visually stunning and emotionally intense single-player experiences in recent years. It's far more than the rat game nickname suggests. It's an emotional roller coaster with a deeply personal core. You follow Amicia and her little brother Hugo, two kids trying to survive a brutal medieval world where the stakes are bigger than ever. What happens now isn't just local, it threatens everything. The story is darker, showing how the first game's events have scarred them. Amicia isn't just protecting Hugo anymore. She's traumatized, angry, and fighting the violent impulses that keep bubbling up. That internal struggle makes the narrative feel mature and grounded, exploring how desperation can twist even the best intentions and hurt the people you love. Gameplay takes a serious step up. Amicia now wields a crossbow, carries a knife for close encounters, and uses new alchemy like tar to brighten fires or scorch enemies. You can play it quietly and avoid killing, or go full-on aggressive. The game subtly tracks your style. Sneak more and your stealth perks grow, fight more and your combat tools evolve. But the real showstopper is the rats, towering black waves that pour through streets and burst from the ground, jaw-dropping in motion and impossible to capture in screenshots. Hugo's power, the macula, is stronger too. He can echo sense foes through walls and in extreme moments command the swarms to obliterate everything in their path. It's haunting, spectacular, and constantly tense. It's not perfect. Some encounters can repeat a beat, but the blend of world scale, systemic stealth, raw brutality, and moral pressure lingers long after the credits. You feel every decision, every slip, every step Amicia takes toward or away from mercy.
Come to me! Give us your blood! Too close! They're far too close!
Vampyr is one of those games that never quite got the credit it deserved. It's not a massive AAA blockbuster, but if you give it time, there's a lot more going on beneath the surface than most people realize. Released in 2018 by Dontnod Entertainment, the same studio behind Life is Strange, you can expect powerful storytelling and morally gray choices that hit harder than they first appear. The game takes place in London right after World War I, during the 1918 Spanish flu outbreak. You play as Dr. Jonathan Reed, a brilliant doctor turned reluctant vampire. Overnight, his mission to heal the sick clashes with his newfound thirst for blood. You're torn between saving lives and taking them. Every decision carries weight. Feed on a citizen and they're gone forever. Shops close, rumors spread, and even quests can vanish. It's a constant moral tug-of-war where doing the right thing isn't always clear. The gameplay supports this perfectly. Combat starts simple but grows deeper as you master swords, daggers, and vampiric abilities like shadow dashes, teleports, and blood-draining grapples. It's not about button mashing, it's about timing and resource management. You decide when to strike, when to heal, and when to feed. The thrill isn't in overpowering enemies, but in surviving your own urges. The story is deeply grounded. Every character, no matter how small, has a story, secrets, and relationships that ripple across the city. Side quests often end up emotionally powerful in ways you don't expect. What makes Vampyr so underrated is that it's not a flashy game. It's deliberate, thoughtful, and heavy with mood. It forces you to think about morality, empathy, and consequence in a way most RPGs never do. Sure, the combat can feel stiff at times, and a few quests repeat, but the atmosphere, the storytelling, and that constant moral tension make it unforgettable. It's the kind of game that lingers, because it doesn't just ask who you want to save, it asks who you're willing to damn. RoboCop Rogue City is one of those rare licensed games that actually nails what it means to be its character. The moment you step into the heavy boots of Alex Murphy, Detroit's half-man, half-machine law enforcer, you feel it. The slow, powerful stride, the cold precision, the steel weight of justice behind every move. Set in a grim, neon-lit Detroit crumbling under corruption and crime, it captures that gritty 80s cyberpunk tone perfectly. The story isn't overly complex, but it hits the right beats. You're a cop in a city rotting from the inside, torn between your human conscience and machine machine programming. Every mission forces you to walk that moral line, questioning what's left of your humanity. It's classic RoboCop, part satire, part tragedy, part unstoppable metal mayhem. What stands out most is the combat. It's weighty and satisfying without turning into mindless action. The iconic Auto 9 pistol feels incredible, punchy, and accurate, and you can upgrade it to blast through waves of gang members, private security, and augmented criminals. You've also got access to slow-motion targeting, environmental takedowns, and that bone-crunching melee punch that sends enemies flying across the room. Every fight feels cinematic and brutal. The city itself is surprisingly detailed. You can patrol, respond to minor crimes, or investigate disturbances between missions. People argue in the streets, robberies happen mid-patrol, and you can actually choose how to handle them, by the book or with some old-school RoboCop justice. Those choices affect public trust and even how certain missions play out. It's not flawless, some dialogue can be cheesy, and a few missions drag, but the overall experience is pure, unapologetic RoboCop. The physics-based combat, the dense atmosphere, and that underlying story about identity and control all come together beautifully. In the end, RoboCop Rogue City doesn't just let you play as RoboCop, it makes you feel like him, a walking tank of justice patrolling a dying city, torn between cold directives and a flickering spark of humanity. It's one of the most surprisingly solid single-player shooters of the last few years, and absolutely deserves more recognition.
I don't like what I'm seeing. The building's actually shaking. Get out while you still can!
Titanfall 2 is easily one of the best first-person shooters ever made, and one of the most criminally overlooked. The tragedy? It launched right between Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, two industry juggernauts that completely buried it. But for those who actually played it, Titanfall 2 delivered something rare, a single-player campaign that's short, sharp, emotional, and endlessly inventive. You play as Jack Cooper, an ordinary rifleman who suddenly becomes a Titan pilot after his mentor dies in battle. His Titan, BT-7274, isn't just a tool, it's your partner. The relationship between man and machine forms the heart of the game. BT is loyal, literal, and unintentionally hilarious, constantly balancing battlefield efficiency with deadpan humor. That bond makes the campaign special. It's a buddy cop story where one of you is a 20-foot mech who genuinely cares about you. Gameplay-wise, it's pure perfection. On foot, Cooper moves like lightning, wall running, double jumping, and chaining parkour moves that make every firefight feel fluid and stylish. Inside BT, you're a tank on legs, switching between powerful weapon loadouts, raining missiles, or stomping enemies flat. The campaign constantly swaps between these two perspectives, keeping every level fresh and unpredictable. And then there's the legendary Effect and Cause mission, a level so good it's still studied in game design discussions. You get a gadget that lets you instantly time travel between the past and present. 1 second you're sneaking through a burning research facility in chaos, the next you're flicking back to its pristine state, outmaneuvering enemies that exist in different timelines. It's clever, cinematic, and brilliantly executed, all within a single mission. Every level introduces new mechanics and ideas, then moves on before they overstay their welcome. The pacing is immaculate, the gunplay feels tight, and the movement system is unmatched even today. Despite selling poorly, Titanfall 2 remains one of the most polished, satisfying single-player FPS experiences of the decade. It's emotional without being preachy, intense without being overwhelming, and creative in ways most shooters wouldn't dare attempt. Forget its unlucky release, this is a game that earns every bit of its cult classic status. Protocol 3, protect the pilot. Yeah, BT, we still miss you.
I've lost the hatch. Need cover, need cover.
Hi-Fi Rush is pure energy in video game form, a rhythm-based action-adventure that feels like someone turned a Saturday morning cartoon into a playable concert. You play as Chai, a sarcastic wannabe rock star who volunteers for a cybernetic experiment gone wrong and ends up with a music player fused into his chest. Now, everything in his world, attacks, dodges, enemy movements, even background animations, moves to the beat. That's the core idea. Combat synced to rhythm. Every punch, combo, and dodge connects more smoothly if you're on beat. You can still button mash and survive, but when you start syncing to the soundtrack, it's magic. Chaining attacks in perfect rhythm feels like playing a song through combat, and the game rewards you with higher scores, flashier finishers, and that dopamine rush flow state that never gets old. The story is lighthearted but full of charm. Chai teams up with a group of rebels to take down an evil megacorporation, and each boss represents a department in this ridiculous company, from finance to R&D, complete with absurd designs and musical themes. The writing is sharp, funny, and self-aware. Chai constantly cracks jokes, gets roasted by his team, and somehow keeps the whole tone human beneath the chaos. Visually, it's gorgeous. The cel-shaded art pops like a comic book brought to life. Bright neon hues, over-the-top effects, and seamless transitions between cutscenes and gameplay. The animations hit perfectly on beat. The soundtrack deserves special mention, featuring tracks from real bands like Nine Inch Nails and the Black Keys, blending flawlessly with the game's original score. Combat keeps evolving. You unlock new combos, partner assists, and rhythm specials that let you summon allies mid-fight for combo attacks. Boss battles are massive set pieces that demand both timing and awareness, pushing you to stay in rhythm while reacting to changing patterns. What makes Hi-Fi Rush underrated is that it doesn't chase trends. No open world, no grinding, just pure creative gameplay built around fun. It's confident, colorful, and unapologetically joyful in a sea of grim realism. Whether you're tapping your foot or headbanging your way through fights, this game proves that rhythm and combat can dance together, and it absolutely rocks.
Don't get off.
Mad Max is one of those games that quietly slipped past most people, but still stands tall as one of the most immersive open-world experiences out there. Set in the brutal wastelands made famous by the films, it captures that desperate struggle for survival better than almost any post-apocalyptic game since. You're Max Rokitansky, the lone wanderer haunted by loss, roaming a dying world ruled by warlords, raiders, and madness. The story isn't overly complex, but it's grounded, a journey of survival, revenge, and redemption against impossible odds. The world is the star here. The deserts stretch endlessly, filled with ruined highways, rusted skeletons of civilization, and dangerous convoys roaming the sand. It's harsh, empty, and yet strangely beautiful. You're constantly scavenging for fuel, water, and scrap to stay alive. And that loop, driving, looting, upgrading, fighting, keeps you hooked. At the heart of it all is your car, the magnum opus. It's not just transportation, it's your lifeline. You build it from scratch, customizing armor, engines, spikes, tires, and even the exhaust roar. Each part changes how it drives and fights. Car combat is the highlight. High-speed chases, explosive harpoon kills, smashing raiders off the road, it all feels raw and physical. The chaos of those dust-filled battles feels cinematic and personal all at once. On foot, melee combat borrows from the Arkham-style system. Punches, parries, grapples, and finishers that feel brutal and weighty. Max isn't a superhero. Every hit looks painful, and every victory feels earned. Enemy camps are built like small puzzles. You can sneak in, lure enemies out, or charge through the gates in a storm of fire. What makes Mad Max underrated is its atmosphere. There's a loneliness to it. Long stretches of silence broken by the roar of engines and the whistling wind. The storytelling is subtle, the characters rough but believable, and the visuals breathtaking even years later. It's not about endless side quests or grinding XP, it's about survival and purpose in a dying world. People dismissed it as just another movie tie-in, but it's far more than that. It's cinematic, raw, and deeply satisfying. A wasteland that truly feels alive in its emptiness. Every road trip, every scrap of metal, every fight matters. If you missed it, you owe it to yourself to step into the dust and see why Mad Max remains one of the most overlooked gems of its generation.
I'll repair it in no time.
Kill all of us. Now you're done.
The Mafia series is one of gaming's most underappreciated trilogies, a masterclass in storytelling, atmosphere, and era-accurate world design. Each entry drops you into a different slice of American organized crime, telling grounded stories of loyalty, betrayal, and survival, not through spectacle, but through human drama. The first game, Mafia 2002, is pure old-school crime storytelling. You play as Tommy Angelo, a humble cab driver in the 1930s who stumbles into the criminal underworld after a chance encounter with mobsters. What starts as survival quickly turns into a life of crime, loyalty, and eventual tragedy. Every mission feels deliberate, and even the driving sections have weight. Those old cars actually handle like they're from the 1930s, adding tension to every chase. Then comes Mafia 2, 2010, the fan favorite. You step into the shoes of Vito Scaletta, a World War II veteran trying to make his way up in the mob during the 1940s and 50s. The story hits hard. It's about ambition, friendship, and the crushing price of loyalty. The voice acting, writing, and tone all feel like a lost Scorsese film. Every mission, from small heists to chaotic gunfights, feels cinematic, and the attention to detail in the era's culture, fashion, and music is unmatched. Mafia 3, 2016 changes things up completely. Set in a fictional version of New Orleans called New Bordeaux during the late 60s, it stars Lincoln Clay, a Vietnam vet out for revenge after his family is betrayed by the Italian mob. It's the most politically charged entry, tackling racism, corruption, and power with a grit that few games dare to show. You build your criminal empire by taking over rackets, recruiting allies, and deciding who gets what, and those choices shape how your empire evolves. Across all three games, one thing stays constant: the focus on story over chaos. Mafia doesn't care about collectibles or side quests. It cares about immersion, atmosphere, and emotion. The Mafia series isn't just about gangsters, it's about people. It's about the cost of power, the price of loyalty, and how the American dream can twist into something darker. Each era feels distinct, each protagonist flawed yet relatable, and together they form one of gaming's most grounded, emotionally rich sagas. Underrated? Absolutely. Timeless? Even more so.
I know some shortcuts that'll slow him down.
I don't care how you do it. Just shake them off.
Fucking bitch!
Sleeping Dogs is one of those rare open-world games that perfectly blends cinematic storytelling, brutal combat, and a living, breathing city that actually feels alive. Set in Hong Kong, you play as Wei Shun, an undercover cop infiltrating one of the city's most powerful triad families. Right from the start, it's clear this isn't your typical crime game. It's grounded, personal, and filled with style. Unlike most open-world games, it's not about size. It's about texture. Every alley, every corner shop, every rooftop chase feels handcrafted to keep you in the moment. Combat is where Sleeping Dogs truly shines. Forget typical gunplay. This is all about hand-to-hand martial arts combat. Wei can punch, kick, counter, and throw enemies into walls, tables, or environmental hazards like fans or phone booths. It's fast, smooth, and cinematic. Every fight feels choreographed, yet raw. Guns do appear later, but they never overshadow the melee system. Chaining moves, landing perfect counters, and using the environment creatively keeps every encounter fresh and intense. Driving and chases are another highlight. The streets are narrow and packed, so car chases are chaotic and thrilling. Vehicle handling has just the right mix of realism and arcade feel, making every pursuit an adrenaline rush. But what really elevates Sleeping Dogs is its story and characters. Wei's struggle between duty and loyalty gives the game emotional depth. You're constantly torn between maintaining your cover and protecting people you've grown close to inside the triad. The writing keeps you hooked. Some missions are loud, chaotic shootouts, while others are quiet moments of doubt and moral conflict. The side content is surprisingly rich too. What makes Sleeping Dogs so underrated is that it doesn't just copy GTA, it stands on its own. The blend of Hong Kong's culture, intense combat, cinematic story, and emotional stakes make it unique. It's gritty, stylish, and human, a game that never needed explosions or gimmicks to stand out. If you missed it, it's not too late to jump back in and experience one of the best story-driven open-world crime games ever made.
I'm not dying here. Every man for himself.
Lady H, whatever Lady Hellbender's paying you, I'll double it. No dice.
Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is the kind of game everyone slept on because of low expectations, and yet it turned out to be one of the most entertaining, heartfelt, and well-written single-player adventures in years. You play as Star-Lord, Peter Quill, leading the most chaotic crew in the galaxy through one disaster after another. From the very first mission, it nails the team's messy, hilarious dynamic. Rocket's sarcasm, Drax's dead-serious misunderstandings, Gamora's dry wit, and Groot just being Groot. What makes it work is how alive the team feels. They constantly talk, in combat, while exploring, even during cutscenes, bickering, joking, and sometimes revealing painful truths. None of it feels forced. You're not just watching them banter, you're managing them. As Star-Lord, you issue commands mid-fight, coordinating the team's special abilities. Rocket's explosives, Groot's crowd control, Drax's brute strength, Gamora's precision strikes. Fights are fast-paced and tactical, but never overwhelming, and syncing their moves feels like conducting a dysfunctional orchestra in space. The story is surprisingly emotional. Beneath the humor and chaos lies a narrative about guilt, loss, and found family. The Guardians aren't just saving the galaxy, they're saving each other, often from their own pasts. The choices you make in dialogue affect how they trust and respond to you, leading to subtle changes in relationships and even mission outcomes. The art direction is stunning. Colorful cosmic vistas, weird alien life, and environments that feel straight out of a heavy metal album cover. And then there's the soundtrack, a killer mix of 80s hits that somehow make every firefight feel like a music video. What really sells Guardians of the Galaxy is its heart. It never hides behind multiplayer gimmicks or grindy systems. It's focused, character-driven, and self-contained, a rarity in modern gaming. The writing is sharp, the pacing tight, and the voice acting phenomenal across the board. It's a game that makes you laugh out loud 1 minute and hit you with real emotion the next, and by the time the credits roll, you realize you've gone on a genuine journey with these misfits. Underrated, heartfelt, and stylish as hell, Guardians of the Galaxy is one of those games that reminds you why single-player storytelling still matters.
My faith! Let my faith reign!
I'm ready! Just find me an opening!
Chop him, Gamora! You will!
Quantum Break is one of those ambitious, ahead-of-its-time games that didn't get the love it deserved. Released in 2016 by Remedy Entertainment, it tried something bold, blending a high-budget single-player action game with live-action storytelling. And while the marketing confused people, the final product is genuinely brilliant. You play as Jack Joyce, who ends up caught in a time travel experiment gone wrong. The result? Time itself starts breaking down. The world glitches, freezes, skips, and loops, and you gain powers that let you manipulate it. But what could have been just another "you have powers now" story turns into something much deeper, a desperate fight to fix reality as it falls apart. The time mechanics are where Quantum Break really shines. You can freeze enemies in time, dash across the battlefield in a blink, or trap bullets midair before unleashing them all at once. Every power feels smooth and satisfying, making combat a stylish dance between movement and destruction. You're constantly shifting between offense and evasion, freezing foes while sprinting through chaos. It's fast, flashy, and always cinematic. Then there's the game's most unique element, the live-action show. After certain chapters, you get a 20-minute episode that changes depending on the choices you made in the game. It's not just filler. It expands the story, shows events from another perspective, and features a cast packed with TV stars from Game of Thrones and The Wire. The transitions between gameplay and show are seamless, and together they tell a story that feels grand in scope without losing its emotional weight. Visually, the game is stunning even years later. Remedy's signature storytelling style is here too. Mysterious notes, audio logs, and small details that reveal the bigger picture. The biggest reason Quantum Break went under the radar wasn't quality, it was timing. It released when Xbox was struggling with its identity, and marketing it as a Game Plus TV series made people skeptical. But once you play it, you realize it's one of the most polished, inventive, and emotionally driven shooters ever made. If you love Control, Alan Wake, or any game that blurs the line between science fiction and storytelling, Quantum Break is an absolute must-play. It's Remedy at its most experimental, and one of the most criminally underrated single-player experiences of the last decade. Before we jump into the final few games, if you're enjoying the list so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. It really helps the channel grow and keeps you in the loop for part 2. Alright, let's get back to it.
Duh, why do you think I'm freaking out? She's so super cool.
You're super cute.
Life is Strange 2 is a quieter, more grounded story than its predecessor, and that's exactly what makes it special. Instead of focusing on one small town or a time-rewinding mystery, it tells a deeply human story about family, survival, and growing up too soon in a world that doesn't play fair. You play as Sean Diaz, a teenager whose life spirals out of control after a tragic event forces him and his younger brother Daniel to flee their home in Seattle. With no one to rely on, the two begin a long journey across the United States, from forests and deserts to tiny rural towns, trying to reach Mexico and find safety. What makes this story unique is its road trip structure. Every episode introduces new people, places, and challenges, making each chapter feel like a different chapter in Sean and Daniel's coming-of-age story. The twist here is that Daniel has telekinetic powers, but you don't play as him. You're Sean, the older brother, guiding him. The real gameplay is about shaping who Daniel becomes. Your words, your moral choices, even how you handle small situations, stealing food, trusting strangers, standing up for others, all affect how Daniel views the world and uses his powers. You're not just protecting him, you're teaching him what kind of person to be. The emotional impact is massive. Life is Strange 2 doesn't rely on big twists. It focuses on the bond between brothers, the fear of being on the run, and the small, quiet moments between chaos. Sitting by a campfire, drawing in your sketchbook, sharing a meal with strangers. Those scenes hit harder than any action sequence could. Visually, it's beautiful in a subdued way. The shifting landscapes of America, pine forests, desert highways, rundown motels, all feel alive and grounded. The soundtrack is equally powerful. Soft acoustic tracks that perfectly match the tone of reflection and uncertainty. What made Life is Strange 2 underrated was people expecting another Max and Chloe story. Instead, it offered something braver, a journey about responsibility, brotherhood, and moral gray areas. It doesn't hand you easy answers or happy endings. Your decisions carry real weight, and no playthrough ends the same. By the end, you're not just watching Sean and Daniel grow. You feel like you've raised Daniel yourself. It's heartbreaking, thoughtful, and deeply human. Life is Strange 2 proves that even without time powers or teen drama, real stories about love, loss, and moral choice can be just as powerful, maybe even more so.
Come on.
But, my feet really hurt. These shoes suck. And we've been walking for 4 days.
What? Only 2. Don't even try that shit.
And my back hurts from sleeping under that stupid bridge.
Yeah, so does mine. I was there too. Just knock it off.
The high school choir. Never said anything though. He was what you might call the strong silent type.
Before Your Eyes is one of those rare games that can completely catch you off guard, not because of flashy gameplay, but because of how deeply it feels. It's an interactive story where the entire game is controlled by your blinking. Literally, every time you blink, the story moves forward. At first, that sounds like a strange gimmick, but once you start playing, you realize it's something truly special. You play as Benny, a soul reflecting on his life as he's ferried through his memories by a mysterious guide. What begins as a series of warm, nostalgic moments, childhood laughter, first love, family dinners, slowly unfolds into something far more emotional and profound. Every blink moves time forward. You might blink once and skip a few seconds, or blink again and suddenly years have passed. It's a simple mechanic with an enormous emotional punch, because just like in life, you can't stop the moments from slipping away. The first time it happens, but when you blink too soon and skip a precious moment, it hits you. You realize you can't control memory. You can't hold on to everything. That's where the genius of Before Your Eyes lies. It makes you physically experience the passage of time and the inevitability of loss. The visuals are painted in a soft, dreamlike style with shifting colors and brushstroke textures that feel like living memories. The music is hauntingly beautiful, gentle piano melodies and subtle ambient sounds that perfectly capture the bittersweet tone of nostalgia. The voice acting, especially from Benny's parents and the guide, carries a weight of warmth and sorrow that stays with you long after it's over. Mechanically, it's simple. No combat, no puzzles, but that's the point. The story is the gameplay. You look around, take in the details, and try not to blink when the good moments come, even though you know you can't hold on forever. The game becomes a metaphor for life itself. Fleeting, beautiful, and heartbreakingly short. By the time the truth behind Benny's story is revealed, it's nearly impossible not to get emotional. It's not just a game you play, it's one you live. Before Your Eyes is an unforgettable reminder that sometimes the smallest mechanics can carry the biggest emotional weight. It's short, simple, and devastatingly human. And if you let it, it'll leave you quietly staring at your screen long after the credits fade, realizing you just experienced something truly special.
Look. It's unbelievable, Benny. It's like she's standing in the room with us. Like I can see her in the paint.
Is that really you? It's Chloe, your neighbor. My God, I can't believe this. It's been years. I just walked through the entire show. It's unbelievable.
The Wolf Among Us is one of Telltale's finest achievements, a noir detective story wrapped in fairy tale grit and moral ambiguity. Released in 2013, it's based on the Fables comic series, where legendary storybook characters secretly live among humans in modern-day New York. You play as Bigby Wolf, the infamous big bad wolf turned sheriff of Fabletown, a rundown enclave of magical exiles barely holding itself together. From the opening scene, the tone is perfect. Cigarette smoke curling through neon light, rain pouring over dark alleys, and a brutal fight breaking out in a dingy apartment. It feels like stepping into a comic book that breathes. The game oozes style, heavy shadows, bold outlines, and that cel-shaded art that makes every frame feel like a graphic novel panel come to life. The story begins with a murder, rare in Fabletown and dangerous because it threatens to expose their hidden community. From there, the case spirals into a web of secrets, corruption, and desperation. You'll interrogate characters like Snow White, Ichabod Crane, and even Bloody Mary, each with layered personalities and their own agendas. The writing is razor sharp, blending fairy tale myth with gritty realism. Bigby himself is fascinating. He's trying to be good, to protect people who still fear him, but that violent wolf nature always simmers underneath. Every dialogue choice forces you to decide which Bigby you want to be, the calm professional, or the monster everyone remembers. And your choices matter. Whether someone lives, trusts you, or fears you can change entire scenes later on. Gameplay is classic Telltale. Point-and-click exploration, tense dialogue decisions, and cinematic quick-time fights. But what elevates it is how immersive every choice feels. You're not just picking dialogue options, you're shaping Bigby's legend. When you lose your temper and literally turn into a wolf mid-interrogation, it doesn't feel like a scripted moment. It feels like a failure of control. The soundtrack, all smoky synths and low bass, completes the noir mood, while the pacing keeps tension simmering from start to finish. By the end, you realize this isn't just a detective story. It's about identity, redemption, and how monsters try to live among men. The Wolf Among Us remains one of the best narrative-driven games ever made. Stylish, emotional, and morally complex. It's not about saving the world, it's about saving yourself, even when you're the one everyone's afraid of.
Hey, Bigby. I'm in your chair, huh?
I've only got the one. So yeah.
Beyond Two Souls is one of those narrative-driven games that dares to explore something bigger than just gameplay. It's an emotional, cinematic experience about identity, loss, and what it truly means to be human. Developed by Quantic Dream, it follows Jodie Holmes, a girl connected since birth to a mysterious entity named Aiden, an invisible being that's always with her, protecting her, haunting her, and sometimes even controlling her fate. What makes Beyond Two Souls stand out is its non-linear storytelling. The game jumps between different stages of Jodie's life, from a frightened child being tested in labs, to a rebellious teenager trying to escape government control, to an adult caught in military missions and personal tragedy. Every moment adds another layer to who she is, and how her bond with Aiden shapes her existence. The dual-character gameplay is brilliant in its simplicity. You can switch between Jodie and Aiden at will. As Jodie, you interact with the world like in any cinematic adventure, exploring, talking, making choices. As Aiden, you drift through walls, manipulate objects, choke enemies, or protect Jodie from harm. It's an intimate dance between the living and the unseen, and the game constantly reminds you that every choice, every action affects both of them. The story itself is deeply human. It's not just about the supernatural, it's about connection, loneliness, and finding purpose when you feel different from everyone else. Jodie's journey spans love, betrayal, fear, and sacrifice, and Elliot Page's performance alongside Willem Dafoe brings raw authenticity that few games can match. Their chemistry carries the emotional weight, grounding even the most otherworldly scenes in believable human emotion. Visually, Beyond Two Souls was ahead of its time. The motion capture is detailed and expressive, the lighting cinematic, and the environments From arid deserts to snow-covered towns, feel alive and textured. The soundtrack complements it perfectly, blending quiet piano moments with haunting orchestral swells that track Jodie's emotional arc. The game gives you real choices too, not just in dialogue but in how you act through Aiden, who lives in that gray area between Guardian Angel and Ghostly Curse. Your actions affect relationships, character fates, and even the game's multiple endings. Some criticize Beyond for being more interactive film than game, but that's what makes it unique. It doesn't chase traditional gameplay loops. It tells a story that only a video game could tell, where you feel what it means to live two lives at once. At its best, Beyond Two Souls isn't about powers or spectacle. It's about growing up with something you don't understand, learning to accept it, and realizing that every bond, human or otherwise, comes with both beauty and pain. It's a haunting, underrated masterpiece of emotional storytelling.
Jodie? Is everything all right, sweetheart?
Yes, everything's fine.
That hell was bad luck. Get ready for more. Another 3. Let's do it.
The Metro series is one of those rare franchises that doesn't just tell a story. It immerses you in a world so atmospheric, so bleakly beautiful, that you can almost smell the damp concrete and feel the weight of the air. Based on Dmitry Glukovsky's novels, it's a post-apocalyptic survival shooter set in the ruins of Moscow, where the remnants of humanity live in the underground metro tunnels after nuclear war has made the surface uninhabitable. You play as Artyom, an ordinary man driven by hope and guilt, trying to protect his people while uncovering the mysteries of what's left above and below ground. From Metro 2033 to Last Light and Exodus, the trilogy evolves from claustrophobic horror to wide-open desperation, but what never changes is its tone: grim, human, and hauntingly real. Down in the tunnels, survival is everything. Ammo is scarce, in fact, it doubles as currency, and your gas mask filters tick down like a constant reminder that time itself is trying to kill you. You'll creep through pitch-black tunnels with only a flickering lighter and a few bullets, listening to the echo of unseen creatures moving just out of view. When you finally step onto the surface, the world opens up. Destroyed buildings, ash-filled skies, and the howling wind over what was once civilization. It's breathtaking and terrifying at the same time. The gameplay strikes a perfect balance between stealth, combat, and survival. Every bullet matters. Every flashlight flicker feels risky. You can take enemies out quietly or go loud and risk running dry. Crafting, weapon customization, and scavenging all play into the desperate realism of the world. Even small details, like wiping blood off your gas mask or charging your flashlight manually, make it feel immersive and personal. What really makes Metro special, though, is its storytelling. It's not just about mutants and radiation, it's about humanity trying to survive itself. The people you meet aren't heroes or villains. They're tired, scared, and clinging to fragments of normal life. Conversations around campfires, scribbled notes in old bunkers, or a child asking about the sun. Those are the moments that hit hardest. Then there's the moral choice system, subtle but powerful. You're never told outright what's good or bad. Your small actions, sparing a soldier, helping a stranger, listening to a story, can quietly shape the game's ending. It's storytelling that trusts you to care. Across the trilogy, the world expands, from the suffocating tunnels of 2033 to the moral gray chaos of Last Light, and finally the open, heartbreaking landscapes of Exodus. But even when the world grows, the focus stays intimate, one man's journey through the ruins of hope. The Metro series never chases trends. It's thoughtful, atmospheric, and brutally authentic, a slow burn of tension and emotion that few shooters ever achieve. If you've never played it, put down the overhyped open worlds for a bit, crawl into the tunnels, and listen. You'll hear the heartbeat of a world long gone, and the last whisper of those still trying to live in it.
Hey, you! Don't shoot! Keep calm, bro. I gave up.
And that's our list of underrated single-player gems that deserve way more love than they got. Each of these games proves you don't need hype to deliver something truly special. If you discovered a new favorite today, hit that subscribe button and share your own hidden gem in the comments below. Thanks for watching. and keep gaming where it matters from the heart.